Okay, welcome back to another Between the Pages book chat. And today we have guest fantasy author CL Gaber, and she's here to talk about her Ascenders series. And apologies for getting that wrong yesterday when I was telling everyone who the guest was today. So I'm going to let her take it away and introduce herself.
Hi, everybody. First, AF, thank you so much for having me on your show. Nice to see you again from Litcom. And I'm CL Gaber, everybody, the author of the Ascender Saga. Four books are out now, and book five comes out early this year. And just so excited to be on the show today.
Okay, great. So give everyone a quick overview of the series and what it's about.
Sure. Ascenders is about 17-year-old Walker Callahan, who is from Chicago, a high school senior, driving home with her mom. They get into a terrible car accident, wakes up in a much nicer house than she's used to. All her stuff's there. There's a pamphlet for a private school on a much nicer desk than she's used to. And Walker doesn't really know what's happening for a little while, but her mom does. They both passed away in the car accident, and they're in a in between realm for people who've died young. And her mom's there only because they were together when this happened. And Walker has to end up going to an afterlife high school. You don't really aren't there for grades. You're not there to, of course, go to college, but you're there to continue learning until it's time to level up or move on. The only rules of the place really aren't many. You can't get hurt, you can't die twice, so you can do reckless things. But you aren't really encouraged to fall in love, which she does with Daniel next door. No one knows how long they're going to stay. And the other part is you are not allowed to go back and check on your former life for any reason. It's dangerous for someone who's so young. And Daniel needs to go back. His little brother stuck at the site of their plane crash, which is how he died with his five brothers and sisters. But the littlest one didn't ascend with the rest of them. He knows he's still stuck at the site of that crash. So halfway through the book, it becomes a ghost story of them going back to the living realm, which is what I call it, to find his brother and evade a bunch of demons that are trying to kill them, and then get back to their realm.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about the main protagonist. What's she like?
Walker's very inquisitive. She wants to be a reporter someday for the New York Times. So she's all about questioning things. It's sort of her, if people have powers here, which mostly they don't. Well, if you do, but that's sort of her power. She's always questioning, always looking deeper. She was a reporter on her school paper and sort of pretended she was still working for the New York Times then. And so she doesn't lose that inquisitive nature, and she's helpful, and but she's not athletic, which is kind of tough in these situations. She's in a lot of physical situations where she has to run or hide or fight, and she admits, I'm not athletic, but what she misses in athleticism she makes up for in willpower to want to somehow help, somehow, of course, survive to get to the next level. So we see her sort of come into her own over many books.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about the antagonists or the situations that they find themselves in.
Well, Walker and Daniel, they bond together because they need each other. Daniel has a really evil father, and he's our main villain. And he crashed the plane. They were in a private plane. He thought he could fly, killed the kids, didn't kill himself, of course. And he becomes a major villain. We have a wonderful principal of the high school when we start, but halfway through we get a principal who's sort of Nixon, and that he's another major villain. Just sort of wants to steal the magical elements of the school and move on. Doesn't know what to do with the students though. So we have them, and it really becomes sort of a big fight: the teens versus the administration. But meanwhile, we have a lot of different couples and a lot of different. We find out everybody's death story, what happened to them, and you can see, what happened, what really happened to a lot of these kids in life and death. And since I'm a reporter for the New York Times Wire, covering show business and entertainment, I based Walker a lot on myself and my many years as a reporter. So just one other little thing.
Well, that sounds interesting. It's nice that you had such a rich history to draw on. Do you have any themes that run through this series?
I think my one of my main themes is it's not a sad series, even though these people have passed. It's tons of action and adventure, and it's really about just living in every single minute, no matter where you are, whatever level you're on, whatever is happening to you. these people sort of grasp every bit of that minute, that day, and make it their own. And they fight the good fight. And if they don't like the rules, like you're not supposed to fall in love, they're gonna break them and not listen to the adults, which very teenage thing to do, but they have real reasons for that. And also a main theme is Walker and her mother get separated at a point, and they just want to talk to each other one more time, and not talk through a psychic. Which I've also done some ghostwriting for psychics over the years and respect them, but a lot of times it's like, oh, your dead relative loves you. Period. That's it. Walker wants to have a real conversation with her mom just one more time. So she's always sort of seeking that, and her mom's seeking it too throughout the series.
Okay, so would you consider it a hopeful series?
It's very hopeful. It really says that death is not the end. It's just one level of life is one level of existence, and death is a different. I've had so many amazing moments. I've done a lot of Comic Cons and Wizard Worlds and events over the last few years, and one of the most poignant, lady came up to me crying at my booth, and her friend kept saying, "Go, no, go talk to her, go talk to her. You really should go talk to her." And turns out she came up and she had lost her nephew in one of the recent school shootings at the time. And she said, I know this is a fantasy book, but it's just been such a horrible month. And just to even think this could maybe be possible and just imaginative way, she goes, it just makes me feel better. And I've had that a lot. And I had a group of teens who were in chemo at a hospital who had a book club who read it too. And it just really beautiful things like that. But I think it's completely hopeful, saying you're just on one level of existence, and who knows what the next one is, but it doesn't have to be the end.
Yeah, uh, that's inspiring. So what was the hardest scene or type of scene for you to write in the series?
I just have almost done with book 5. I'm done. My editor is still going through it, but I think one of the hardest scenes in there is a choice Walker has to make. There's a young man named Cass who's alive, and then he's not, and he falls in love with Walker too. And there's just a time where physically she can only save Daniel or Cass. They're in a terrible situation on a mountaintop, and it's not good. And that was really hard to write because I have a lot of feelings for both of the guy characters, and I know my readers do too. And I knew in my heart who she was going to save, but really hard to watch one of them tumble and maybe meet their demise. So that was super tough. And another one that was very hard for me to write was the few times Walker goes back as a ghost for her mother is always a hard one to write. It's always makes me. I lost my mom to cancer many years ago, so that one always gets me really bad.
Okay, so what was your favorite scene or type of scene to write?
I love one of my favorite scenes in Ascenders is when Daniel and Walker first meet, and he really thinks it's a bunch of BS that the school doesn't tell you died. They have the students. You are not allowed to tell newbies that they've died. They need to just chill for a few days. So he doesn't believe in that. And he takes her to an icy pond and she falls through and she knows she's under there way too long, but still breathing, still alert. Her mind's working. 10 minutes go by and she sees him just standing there through the ice. And finally he pulls her out and he tells her. But that was a lot of fun to write because first she punches him and at it him. She's like, how could you just stand there and not fish me out earlier? And then, he hands her her own obituary. There's so few people who have access to that kind of thing, and she can't believe it. And then she needs to go home and confront her mom and say, "Did you kill us last night?" That was a hard scene to write, but the icy fun that's always a fun one.
Yeah, it sounds like it. So, do you have any quirky secondary characters that like to steal scenes?
I have one I love. I have one named Bertha. There's a prison school in this realm for teens who did some really bad things in their lives, and it's called ITT, the Institute of Troubled Teens, and they're stored in little glass boxes. And Bertha comes from there. She was a gang member in New York, but kind of railroaded into it. A foster kid, never had a family, and we find out Bertha's got a really troubled past, but she has her own way of speaking, and every time she's like Walker's best friend, and every time she shows up, I think she's always a scene stealer because she's tough, but she's really tender underneath, and I love writing her, and she has a special power that I won't ruin it, but she can look different, and I had an artist draw her both ways, skinny and bigger, and boy, people went nuts when I put the skinny version online. They're like, "This is not the Bertha we like. We like Bertha bigger. We like her, big personality, and she has one of the hottest boyfriends in the place too. And I mean, he's just loves her. So they're good scene stealers, I think.
Okay, so what character would you like to hang out with in real life?
I personally I would have been a team Daniel for a long time, and I still am. But I feel like my readership is also becoming sort of a team cast type of situation going on. And I get these letters like I feel guilty. I'm cheating on Daniel in my heart. But currently, I would love to. Like, I'm just going to pick Walker because too hard to decide between the guys. I'm going neutral on this, everyone. I can't commit.
Okay, so what are your characters afraid of?
Well, if you go to the living realm for it's not just we don't want you going back and checking on your friends and family when you're young and you die young. It's that parts of you that you left behind, your rage, your jealousy, they have morphed into demon like forms. They're really mad that you left them behind. You shed them when you ascend. So those scenes, those big fight scenes, these demons are out to just annihilate you and make you into nothing. So that's one huge fear. And another big fear is being incarcerated in that prison school. It's run by a really evil warden who I always in my mind imagine to be James Gandolfini from The Sopranos, my favorite shows of all time. So I always imagine it's him, but that you don't want that. You don't want. And in book 5, which comes out soon, we sort of learn you don't want to be sent to the other side of the realm, which is sort of like the wild west of the realm. Not good either, because it's pretty lawless out there.
Interesting. So if they go back, they actually face their own demons.
They face their own demons again, but these demons are ready to really annihilate them. And if you're annihilated completely, you are just dust in the wind. You're done. You're not going to level up anymore. So these demons are lurking everywhere, and they're slippery. They go under doors. They come out of bath sockets. They're everywhere. You can't avoid them, and they mostly come out after midnight. So the little boy who's been stuck there for years, he's been avoiding them for years because he's little and he's slippery and he's 6 years old and he's fast. So they need to find him, but at the same time, avoid all these demons.
Okay, so obviously you write fantasy. Are there any other genres you've written in or would like to write in?
I did do a girl detective novel as a big childhood fan of Trixie Belden, which I know most people don't know, but she was kind of like a more modern day Nancy Drew. uh, Trixie didn't do candy striping. She just had her own detective agency in the Catskills. So I did do Jex Malone with my friend Vicky Sashery. We did it together. We are good friends from college, and I'm working right now, always on Ascenders, but on another sort of magical book about time travel.
So can you give us a little sneak peek on that one?
Yeah, it's really exciting to me. The protagonists are a little younger. They're like 14, 15. And, what if your little brother or sister were called upon to save the world? Your little dork brother or sister that, you think is incapable of even dressing themselves. So these kids go on some big time travel adventures through kind of known parts of history. And I also love unknown parts of history. So some of my favorite things to do the historical research for that kind of thing.
Okay, that sounds like fun. So I think we'll wrap it up here. And I'd like to thank you for joining us today as a guest. And I'll let you tell everyone where they can find you and your books.
Sure, everyone can find me at CL Gaber at yahoo.com. And you can find Ascenders at Amazon and at Barnes and Noble. And Ascenders was also optioned to be a TV series, so we're working on that. And hopefully some big news soon, you guys. And A5 pretty soon. Everyone's been asking, but pretty soon.
Oh, that sounds like fun. The TV series.
I think we got an option, which is like so crazy. So that was exciting. So we're in the very early stages, but it's definitely very exciting.
Yeah, well, fingers crossed and good luck with that.
Thank you so much, AF. It was such a pleasure being on your show.
Okay, yeah. Well, thank you again for being here. And Between the Pages, we'll be back next weekend with two more authors. So join us then. And that's it for now. So